ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold?
Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Watch the show live on Facebook
and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome into Hoist the Colors. It is Tuesday, April 7th. The conclusion of the college basketball season was last night. Michigan wins the national championship over UConn. That means the transfer portal is officially open this morning for every college basketball program in America. That means here close to home at ECU, 8 scholarship players have already entered the portal. We'll tell you about that. Not really many unexpected, if any at all. So we'll break that down. We've discussed this going into this period. Now we have the official names. More to come, maybe. I don't know. We'll discuss who's left and who the Pirates could be welcoming to the team as well during today's show. We're also going to talk a lot of ECU baseball. Pirates hosting Duke tonight. Revenge game on the docket. Pirates were walked off in Durham a few weeks ago. They'll try to get revenge tonight. They'll see Drew Bryan pitching on the other side to start with once again. Ryan Towers set to get the start for ECU. That'll be a 6 o'clock first pitch inside Clark LeClaire Stadium. So we'll discuss that as well. We'll catch up with Mike Mullis, ECU baseball analyst for the ESPN Plus broadcast, get his take on the week that was the much-needed 4-0 breakthrough week of sorts for East Carolina baseball. The comments sections are open. YouTube, Facebook, X, got a question or want to drop something in the chat that you want read, do that. And as long as I can say it on air, I'll make sure to do my best to read it. And we'll get my reaction to it, as well as Philip Pilkington, who is producing today's program. He's back in the 94.3 The Game studios. Philip, are you going to the game today as a fan, I believe? As you were telling me pregame, you're going to hang out with one of our good buddies who was on the Bucks on the Pond podcast last night. So going as a fan tonight, right?
Yeah, going to watch the Boston Bruins beat the Carolina Hurricanes as a fan. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to Raleigh.
I thought you were thinking.
Nah.
What? You want to know what's crazy?
Wags told you he's going to the hockey game?
No. You want to know who else is going to be at that hockey game?
Scott Igo.
Hockey fan at all.
Oh, no.
Scott's going to be there. He's going to be there with my father, Billy.
There you go. I was about to say, first when you said not a hockey fan at all, I almost reverted and didn't say Scott. I thought he kind of was a Canes fan.
Scott is a Canes fan. My father is not. My father has no real hockey knowledge, but I think he's going to have a good time tonight. He's missing the Duke ECU game. He usually would attend a game like this. I don't think midweek baseball is his favorite, so if you see,
I don't think midweek baseball is anybody's favorite.
Yeah, if you see Scott or Billy in there, let them know.
I'll definitely
and let them
say hey.
So you're missing the second round of Duke ECU. For some reason, when you told me you were hanging out with the Wax, I figured it was at Clark LeClaire Stadium. But it makes sense now with the Bruins being in town. I should have put two and two together. You are a Boston fan.
Yeah, when he sent out the spreadsheet at the beginning of the year, I was like, I can get somebody else to produce a random Tuesday night game. Got to see the Bees play. It's been a few years since I've seen them play. So I'm excited, and they'll probably lose. But, hey, we're going to have a good time anyways.
NHL playoffs right around the corner, as are the NBA playoffs. So we'll start turning our attention to that as we get closer, probably more so next week. We're not going to talk MLB for a while because Philip and I's baseball teams are two of the worst in the league right now in the Red Sox and Mariners. And so we're going to avoid that topic as long as possible. What we will discuss is some current events in segment one. We'll get into a lot of ECU here later, including the transfer portal, including Mully on ECU baseball. Last night's national championship, I don't want to say snoozer, but it was kind of, the Final Four as a whole this year just wasn't great, Philip, and I've got many thoughts on these cavernous Final Fours in the midst of football stadiums with people sitting 500 yards away. But it's, you got to credit Michigan. Michigan wins its first national title since 1989. UConn made a late push. Had some opportunities to really cut it into a two-score, maybe a one-score game. Michigan was probably, outside of Arizona, the clear best team in the country this year. Of course, Duke can make an argument as well. I don't think they were quite tested as much, even though they did beat Michigan head-to-head late in the season. But just in the Big Ten, with the NIL spent there, and then Arizona kind of dominated its league, looked the part. And you kind of felt once Michigan got past Arizona, they were going to do this. And they, for the most part, even with Yaxel Lindenborg banged up, played to their potential last night. And, good for Dusty May, who seems honestly like a pretty good dude. Some of these college basketball coaches, you don't get the best vibes from. Well, Dusty May, who was in ECU's conference at FAU and led the Owls to the Final Four, he has quickly turned Michigan into a national title team.
Yeah, I thought it was impressive. Just the season that they had this year, man. We've always crapped on the Big Ten. They haven't won, obviously, since before Kaysen was even born is the last time a Big Ten team won the national championship. So it was good to see that. And look, man, they did it the right way. They go in there. They've got a blue-collar, gritty team. They brought in a lot of guys who are willing to buy into their brand of basketball. And, last night I thought the interesting thing about the game was when the game went slow, Michigan was the better team, and when the game went fast, UConn was the better team. And it was the exact opposite of, their identities for the year. It's the exact opposite of how we thought the game was going to go. So, yes, I'm with you. These games and these massive football stadiums where I have a friend who was at the Final Four a few years ago that had to admit he had to wait and look at the crowd reacting down by the basket to know whether or not the shot went in because you can't see anything is ridiculous. However, I liked watching the chess match last night. I liked watching how both teams tried to control the pace in their way. I liked to see some of the adjustments from the coaches. I thought it was a very well-coached game by both guys. I thought the players executed well. It wasn't maybe the sexiest game to have on in the background and half pay attention to, but if you were able to sit and really watch it closely, I thought it was a really fundamentally sound, good basketball game. So I enjoyed it.
Some comments from the chat. Mark says game last night looked like a bad G League professional game. Well, there will be some players from that game playing the NBA, but there will probably be a lot more that go to the G League, so that probably lines up pretty well. I'm curious where Lindenborg ends up playing. I assume he'll be an NBA pick, and he's good. I just don't know if he's great for the NBA, but we'll see. I don't know. Do you know where he's projected at, Philip, as far as NBA picks?
I'm not sure. I mean, I would guess he's got to be a late first, early second guy, right?
Because he's not like a dynamic athlete, but he's solid in every way. But everybody in the NBA is just so long and athletic. And Kenny said he didn't watch 1 second of it, which is fair. I watched mainly the second half, and it wasn't a great game, but look, it is what it is. And anytime a national championship game is on going, I'm going to turn it on and watch it. And Dusty May, somebody said he did turn down UNC, so that may make him a pretty good dude. More on that in a minute with Michael Malone. What does it say, Philip, about Indiana winning a national championship in football and Michigan winning a natty in basketball? Not that Michigan hasn't been good in basketball. They've been, runner-up twice in the past little over a decade.
Yeah.
And now they finally get over the hump. But this is, unfortunately, I think, just another sign that money rules the roost. I mean, as far as nobody would ever predict Indiana win a national title in football, and probably Michigan wouldn't have been at the top of the list a few years ago. But when you start making this just gigantic amount of TV money, you're going to be able to buy the best roster possible. And if you got good coaching to go along with it, you're going to be a national title contender. I think we're seeing that right now.
Yeah, and I think the problem is right now, Steven, it's happening, but it's not happening at a dominant enough rate for the powers that be to realize how bad it is. I mean, they know it's bad, but they don't care enough to fix it. I think, honestly, the best thing for college athletics, and I was talking about this with somebody the other day, next year, you hope that Texas Tech beats the ever-loving mess out of everybody in every sport known to man. And they beat SMU in the championship game in football, who beats everybody, the mess out of everybody until Texas Tech. And then Texas Tech in the basketball championship beats probably some private school that invests a lot of money, like a Duke, or all of a sudden, I don't know, somebody else just comes up who's private, specifically invests crap ton of money, like if a Vanderbilt or a Stanford. Not that those teams would do it, but because as long as the Big Ten and the SEC are slightly better than everybody else and raise the trophies, nothing's going to change because the Big Ten and the SEC run the world.
Very true. Somebody said Lindenborg's a late lottery pick. Rohan says he could be a Hornet next year. be a solid pick by the Hornets and a stretch four who can shoot the three. So I'm a fan of that. With everything going on right now, it's just I don't know. I'm just frustrated with college athletics, but we could turn this into a whole show about that. We'll table that discussion for now. Somebody did ask why in the world was the game on True TV instead of CBS. I think it was technically TBS, but either way, the contract, how it's written is even years is TBS, odd years is CBS. So that's just how the contract years is for the Final Four.
The fact that it's not over-the-air TV, somebody needs to be fired for writing that contract.
Yeah, it's really silly, but that goes right in line with college athletics. We haven't discussed the Michael Malone news to UNC. Just a quick word on that, and we'll get to ECU talk. I feel like I've got at least an interesting perspective as a Denver Nuggets fan on this. First off, this isn't a UNC show, but I do know that I'm sure we have UNC basketball fans listening.
Either that or UNC basketball haters. I feel like everybody that listens to our show is one or the other extreme. So
you're right, and I mean, so I have two thoughts on this. The process was clearly fumbled by UNC, whether they felt like they had Tommy Lloyd, the Arizona head coach, in the bag or not. It sure seemed like it. And the process of how they ended up on Michael Malone can certainly be questioned and probably should be questioned because I don't think he was anywhere near the top of the list. But I do think the comparison of just saying this is a lazy hire akin to Bill Belichick, I don't think, as a Nuggets fan, I don't think I feel like I know Michael Malone pretty good, and you couldn't be further from Bill Belichick. He couldn't be further from Bill Belichick. Yes, they have the commonality of they both are primarily pro coaches who know very little about college, which is a risk. But Belichick is like an X's and O's behind the scenes, doesn't want to be on the mic type of guy. Michael Malone is a fiery, culture-driven, motivator head coach who isn't afraid to be on the mic. He's on TV right now for ESPN. He's honestly one of the best on-mic coaches, was one of the best on-mic coaches while coaching the Nuggets. He's got a great personality. How will it work at UNC? I don't know. Obviously, we'll see how he builds his roster. But, to me, I think his coaching style translates much better to college than Belichick does. I mean, he is used to dealing with the egos that come with college athletics now. He does coach hard. He gets on his players. He demands a lot. And he was able to mold a young Nuggets team into a championship contender. Now, look, Nikola Jokic isn't walking through that door. He's not going to wear baby blue next year. So, he's going to have to go find some star talent. But I do feel like this is maybe a better fit than – initially I thought it was a little weird. And it still is weird to a degree. But, maybe this is a better fit than many initially thought, including myself, as they thought more about it. I don't think this is a Belichick situation. Is it perfect? No. But I have more of a problem with the process than Michael Malone being the next coach at UNC. Does that make sense, Philip?
Yeah, no, it's fair. Look, I think my worry with him really is going out and talking to the donors to get to raise money. You don't do that in the NBA. Just the nuances of college more than it's college basketball once you get on the floor as opposed to pro basketball when you get on the floor is more what I'm worried about with this. And also the thing that I think makes me against this hire, and this is not a Malone issue, this is just the situation. The portal opening today put Carolina in a really tough spot. This thing needs to open about a month from now so that teams can have time to interview their coaches. What happened was they went after 5 or 6 dudes that all turned them down, and then they pretty much just had to make a last-minute hire just to, make sure they had a coach by this morning when the portal opened. So was he the best coach probably available? Just dudes sitting on the couch? Probably. Actually, definitely. The thing was, though, is he the right fit? I don't know if he knows if he's the right fit. I don't know if they know he's the right fit, but I think everyone's hand was forced because of this stupid calendar that everybody complains about, that the lack of leadership in NCAA has done nothing to fix. That's the problem. If they would have went through this a whole hiring process and gotten Mike Malone, then I would feel good about it. But it's like his name came out of nowhere because, they had to have somebody by today.
If the NBA season ended this past weekend, maybe they have Billy Donovan instead of Michael Malone. And
exactly.
You could argue, obviously Donovan's had the success in college, and you could argue he's probably the more sexy hire, but I do think Malone's coaching style will translate better. Like, he's a grinder and a motivator. Like, Belichick to me does not strike me as a guy who is like just working his tail off night and day. And I think he was known for that way with the Patriots, but now at his age, I don't know. I mean, I think he's just kind of, I'm not going to say mellowed in, but he just seems like so low-key and doesn't care, but maybe I have the wrong read
At
there.
that age, you've only got so much testosterone, so much energy, and we know where some of it's going, so.
The other factor with Malone is he's tight with Jokic's agent, and you just saw Illinois build a Final Four team with international players, so that could be a factor or a tool that he utilizes in building UNC's roster. All right, so there's just some quick current events talk. We'll switch gears to ECU. We'll start with Mike Mullis, ESPN plus ECU baseball analyst. Duke in town today, 6 p.m. first pitch. We'll get his take on the game and much more on Pirate Baseball after this.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arrgh! In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Every ECU fan's one stop for all things ECU athletics.
This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors, segment 2 here on HTC. We're waiting. Mike Mullis, not able to connect with him yet. We'll see if we can get him on. So Philip Hook and I will talk ECU Duke ourselves. And look, this is a game. I know you followed Duke, and I was pretty unimpressed by Duke the first meeting, Philip, when the Pirates played the Blue Devils. But I think this is a team that is getting better. They're still without one of their best players. They're coming off a series win over Louisville. Before that, they competed in a really tough series at Florida State. Lost games 3-1 and 12-11, and then won the finale 11-4. So they're playing better. RPI is still not great. I do think this is a series or a game ECU ideally needs to win. We'll get more to the RPI here later, but revenge game tonight. I expect the Pirates to come out fired up, and they should after the way they got walked off in Durham.
Yeah, they should. Duke that day wasn't really able to use their best arms. I think a lot of that due to the weekend they had came off of the 4-game week, and then going into a tough conference or a 4-game weekend, and then going into a tough conference series against Florida State. So, I think that had a little bit to do with it. All right, Mike Mullis is calling me, so I'm going to answer the phone. You keep talking.
All right, we'll try to get Mully on here in a second. And by the way, Ryan Towers will start tonight for East Carolina. The left-hander did not throw this past weekend, has not thrown since the UTS game where he was unable to get out. Only threw 13 pitches in that game. He was in the bullpen at one point this past weekend, so he will throw tonight to start with. I would expect Frank Saccone to throw as well. He did not throw this past weekend as well, started last week's midweek game. So we'll see how it unfolds after that. All right, we got Mike Mullis online, ECU, ESPN Plus analyst. Mully, thanks for joining us, man. And how about those Pirates this past week, 4-0? Where did that come from, man?
Yeah, no, they played well. And, typical of the game of baseball, you look back and you go, 2 pitches different in the week before. Now that turns that into a 7-out-of-8 streak with a road win against an ACC team and then a road series victory at UTSA. Now you're talking about a team that's getting national consideration. So it's interesting, man. It's always that close, it seems. But, huge week this past week. And, just kind of all facets of the game, the Pirates played extremely well.
Obviously, the offense, Mully scores double-digit runs in every game. Did you notice anything different with the approach? Is it just a matter of guys just being hot at the right time together, keeping that chain connected, as Coach Cliff Godwin always says? Is there a true spark plug or two? What do you kind of notice with the offense that led to that breakout?
Yeah, first off, the consistency of Linehan. He seems to be, and again, we ride roller coasters with these freshmen, and especially when they're starting to get the numbers of trips to the plate that Linehan's getting. But his consistency over that stretch has been marked. I think the Colby Wallace approach has been improved. Now we still see him kind of let it fly, maybe a little bit out of control at times, but I think he has reined it back into where kind of doing his thing through the heart of the park, and again, not worried about the power numbers. Jeff Sabater shot in the arm. That dude has quietly got his batting average up to like 360. I don't know exactly where it is, but I know it was 364 at one point this weekend. And he's a guy that's very comfortable in his own skin, just kind of, again, plays his game. I think the one where everybody's waiting to see get on board with that is probably Austin Irby. And, there's some instant offense there if he can find the approach where he uses the biggest part of the park and maybe lays off of the seeking of the power numbers. Again, I know, part of Coach Gotro's thought process and philosophy is to be aggressive, but there's aggressive and then there's out of control. And I think Irby has constantly bordered on that. So, but I do think it's been a little better approach, and quite frankly, they've been very opportunistic, taking advantage of miscues of the other teams.
I was going to ask you about Irby, so I'll follow up on that, Mully. And obviously not everybody can hit at the same time in baseball, more times than not. And right now he's cold. I did notice he at least, he's been patient at the plate at times. Like his swing decisions are pretty good, and he'll overswing on balls that, he's trying to crush, as you mentioned. But he's still, 17 walks, 8 hit by pitches to 20 strikeouts. Obviously the power, the average isn't where he wants it to be. But what are you seeing with him? We noticed that, he tries to pull a lot. He did at least hit a ball to deep center this week, and maybe that's a sign. Do you feel like he's getting close at all? What are you seeing with Irby with the swing right now?
Yeah, I think the book's out on him, and it's, these teams are fairly consistently pounding breaking balls underneath his hands, out of both left-handed arms and right-handed arms. So, I think there's your book. And, when you get when you tend to get overly aggressive with your swing, it just creates those, those bigger holes. I will say I stopped by practice yesterday and watched some BP, and man, he just consistently ball up the middle, one after the other. Never really looked to tilt and lift the ball out of the ballpark, at least not, the time that I was watching. I don't know that I saw the entirety of his round, but so that was like, okay, apparently there's a message being conveyed. And that, when he was so good, I mean, look, home runs are accidents. It is very, very rare that somebody, says, hey, I'm going to go, hit a ball out of the park and actually does it. And sometimes I think, it's kind of like playing golf. If you call a hole in one every time you get on a par three, at some point you have a chance to be right. So I think, some guys just like to, hey, I'm going to end this thing, or I'm going to hit a home run, whatever. Occasionally it works out. Typically it's an accident. So I think, when we saw him so good at the end of last year, and he was having success both like from an average and extra base hit standpoint and some, true power numbers, it was that more controlled heart of the, kind of heart of the park focus. And I think that's what it's going to take for him to get back there. Sometimes, you try to do too much when you're in a position where, your team doesn't. I mean, let's just face it, there's not a ton of juice up and down this lineup. Again, Linehan's proven to be your greatest power threat to this point. So I think Irby's trying to maybe carry a little bit more of that than he has to.
Mike Mullis with us, ECU, ESPN Plus baseball analyst, and Mully, I'm still amazed at what Davin Whitaker's doing, and he's hitting 393 right now, 6 doubles, 2 triples, 3 homers. He's playing good defense in the outfield. He's getting on base via the free pass as well, and just kind of your classic ECU story. Stays 3 years. He's really developed. I would have never expected this from Davin. So, just can you speak on his improvement and his process of becoming this player we see today?
No, man. You pretty well summed it up. It's it's almost the Rudy story, right? The guy that just kind of hangs around and finds his way into the lineup. And we've seen him have a couple blunders. A diving play that maybe he could have held up on. We've seen some base running issues, but it seems like he learned from those things, and he is really. He's become a dude that when he strolls to the plate, you expect good things are going to happen, and he's going to work early. He's not going to sit up there and get buried in a count typically. And if he does find himself in 2-strike counts, which there's a difference in how you get there, you get up there, get a couple swings off, maybe foul the ball off, you find yourself 0-2. He's not going to typically sit there and watch 2 pitches to get himself buried. But with 2 strikes, going back to the Campbell game, the first road game of the season, the at bat that he had off the bench there was kind of a Davin Whitaker classic, and he's just kind of built on that. And no, man, it's been fun to watch him, and he adds some athleticism to the lineup, and he's a guy going into this thing had all things played out and everybody stayed healthy. He's probably a 4th, no worse than 5th outfielder. A guy that you would see situationally, and it's going to be interesting to see. I know that the matchup left on left for him has not been favorable, but when you got a guy going like he is right now, it'd be interesting to see kind of how Cliff and staff manage that the rest of the way. Considering again, he's one of your hottest guys right now.
Pitching wise, Mully, we saw Luke Payne deliver an outing that nobody expected. Joseph Webb got a start and went 3 innings, and you sweep a series where Norby doesn't make it out of the 4th inning. So what do you make of the pitching right now? It's still going to be an adventure, and I think they're going to have to figure it out game to game. So what do you make of the options down there, the arms going forward?
Yeah, I think you're right, man. It just seems like the Pirates have found themselves in this situation so many times in the recent past that. The difference this year is you go, man, the ifs are huge. If Weber, if GVK, if Moran, if these, so there's a lot more of those guys down there that we have typically seen, but it seems like we're back to a running a stable of, I don't know, was it probably 6 arms that are going to be kind of leaned on pretty heavily in rotation. Maybe it's 7. But it's going to be interesting, and I think in my opinion, your MVP in the bullpen right now is probably Ethan Rose. I know he's had some ups and downs, but there's no way the expectation was that freshman was going to come in here and pitch in some of the spots he's pitched in. And maybe I'll give co-MVP to the inning eater on the back end and Boucher. I mean, he's appeared in 3 situations that ultimately were run rules, but he goes in there and eats those innings, and somebody else doesn't have to throw them. And then you look around, and not only is he eating innings, he's accounting for 3 or 4 RBIs in the game and being impactful. So it is the pitching staff thing's going to be just going to continue to be a curiosity until 1 or 2 of these guys can at least get healthy enough to go, and who knows exactly when or if that'll happen.
I was talking to some people in the industry, and they kind of said, Mully, that Norby's, when he's on, he's controlling the glove side of the plate, obviously working into righties, and everything plays off that. And then when he's not able to do that, he gets barreled up a lot. So it sounds simple, but it just feels like if he's hitting that fastball in the inner half, everything plays off that. And if not, we saw what we did for Charlotte. Do you feel like it's that simple as well?
Yeah, I don't even think it's just a fastball. I do think it's that breaking pitch that he could back foot that thing last year like it was just his, it was his job. And it just has been inconsistent. And we've seen a lot of the trouble, and when I say trouble, the big home runs have been hanging breaking balls. And it's kind of, it's like the feel escapes him right now for whatever reason. And I don't know if it's, are things just moving a little quicker for him physically as he's gotten stronger? Is it, is it the seek for spin rate that everybody's looking for? I don't know. Is it just a mental block? What is it? But, we kind of get the teaser outing, last weekend, and then we kind of back to reality, this past outing. So I don't know, man. It's strange. I do absolutely 100% agree that it is that it's that pull side stuff that's killing him, and he just cannot land it, and it just changes the complexion of the bats, man. When you bounce that breaking ball to a good hitter, and so you're in the process of a setup, maybe you're maybe 1-2-2-1 kind of in the count, and then you bounce that breaking ball. It's effectively a reset. It doesn't it didn't concern. It doesn't set up anything downstream. So I think he's had a lot of that, and then he comes back with the next pitch and gets hit in a lot of trouble too with 2 strikes. Where he's always, when he's good, he's always able to put people away. So again, we'll just keep hoping that he can figure it out. If nothing else, at least he does get you some innings on the front end on Friday, and that's certainly not the way you want to go about it. But even when he doesn't have his stuff, he goes out there and kind of gives you his guts and goes as far as he can. And tries to at least save an inning or 2, out of the pen.
Final thing for Mike Mullis, ECU ESPN Plus baseball analyst. Duke in town tonight. It'll be, at least to start with, Ryan Towers going for ECU. Drew Bryan, former Pirate, will start for Duke again. And I expect a lot of arms on both sides, Mully, and ECU try to get some revenge here. What's your synopsis of tonight's game?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. Who can clean up the mistakes? If you look back to the last time they got together, Duke did everything they could to run themselves out of the game. Obviously, East Carolina had the issues and had a handful of pitches that they'd like to have back. But again, it's going to be who could just clean it up and then just maintain the mental integrity going forward as the ball's being passed. Can we stay on schedule? Okay. And listen, 1 out on the weekend, if a guy like you, if you're slating a guy to give us 2 and he gives you 1 2/3, it has such a ripple effect. And then somebody's got to get you back on schedule. So maybe that was somebody you were slating to go 2. Maybe they got to get that 2 1/3. So when fans see those numbers and see a guy goes, again, an odd, like a 2 1/3 or 1 2/3, there's somebody in there's got to pick up the schedule and kind of get back on, get back on get everything back online, so that whatever pitching plan you have does work. It's kind of like football where, you try to stay on in certain down and distances, very, very similar to how they're going to have to manage this pitching staff. So I think both sides, that's going to be the tell of the tape, and we'll see how it shakes out. But I like you, I expect that East Carolina will come out ready to play, and the revenge tour. First stop of the revenge tour, I guess, is tonight, and we'll see how the Pirates respond.
Mully, you guys do anything at Tiebreakers for the Tulane series? I want to give you a chance to plug that if so.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, man. Yeah, we're going to go all weekend. 7:30 start times. So 7:30 Friday, 7:30 Saturday, 2 o'clock on Sunday. Yes, we are. We're going to plan on, giving the Pirate fans a place to all get together and watch the game, and it should be a good time. Again, it should be a great environment. Hopefully, we find a way to scrap a win tonight, and then go down to Tulane looking to continue the success in the conference. And it's So we'll be there all weekend. Again, hopefully there's some momentum to be held on to and to roll forward into this series.
He is Mike Mullis. Join him this weekend at Tiebreakers for all the Tulane games. It's a fun watch along experience and good time for everybody there. Mully, we appreciate it as always, man, and we'll connect with you soon.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll see you at the ballpark.
He is Mike Mullis, ECU ESPN Plus analyst. Always appreciate his time, his insight on Pirate baseball and the sport as a whole. We'll get a break in. We'll shift gears. It is the opening of the transfer portal for men's basketball, and we have quite a number of ECU players in the portal. We'll discuss that next.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
In Eastern North Carolina, people appreciate things that are straightforward, honest, and dependable. For decades, our team has focused on cutting through insurance complexity for the communities we serve. And now, we're bringing that same mindset to our name. We're Flatlands Insurance Group, a simpler name that reflects the same local team, the same values, and the same commitment to the great communities we feel blessed to be a part of. Flatlands Insurance Group, your whole world is covered.
At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Make every day electric on the Kawasaki Electro 20 electric balance bike. Maximize the fun with long run times, impressive top speed, and Kawasaki build quality. Easy adjustability and smooth handling make everyday riding more enjoyable. And the standard MTB type tires provide off-pavement capability. The Kawasaki Electro 20 is the electric balance bike that's built to rip. Go to Ron Ayers Motorsports, Memorial Drive north of the airport, Greenville.
Set sail and hoist the colors. Ahoy, the Huskies. Back to Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back in Hoist the Colors segment 3. Appreciate Mike Mullis joining us. Be sure to check out the tiebreaker special he does over on by Bell's Fork, tiebreaker's location by Bojangles, and he does that for every. He'll do that for every road game this weekend, the whole Tulane series. So if you want a place to watch the ECU baseball game, they also do some giveaways there, and also a good time. Just a great location. Mully's on the mic. It's not really a play-by-play, but more so they just kind of provide analysis and some insight during the game. So a lot of fun. Get over to tiebreakers this weekend for the Tulane series, hopefully after a W tonight. The basketball transfer portal is open, and we have quite a number of former Pirates in there. Many of these guys staying at ECU for just a year or two and moving on. And this is the cycle of college sports. Seems like college basketball, it's even more rampant in terms of a percentage of your roster every year. And to be honest, the team wasn't very good last year, and I think much of this was needed. As I'd say very few of these guys are leaving on their absolute own. In fact, maybe none of them. Philip Hilkener rejoins us here on 94.3 The Game. Philip, I feel like you're usually on the other side, but we'll get used to it here on the setup.
Oh, I know. I think when I went to go edit you and the Mully, I accidentally edited mine first instead of yours. So we're going to double Steve and I go, and then there we go. Is that better?
There we go. Oh, wow. That's the magic of TV right there. Philip Hilkener, producer / our insider. Look, we've talked about these guys. Here are the official 8, and then we'll kind of analyze this. LaDante Felton, Isaiah Mbang, Corey Calker, Reed Kaysen, Travion LeBeau, Tybo Bailey, Vito Perkovich, and Patty D'Arcy. That's 8 scholarship players that are entering the portal, officially in the portal as of this morning, as it opened. On top of that, you also lost leading scorer Jordan Riley. You lost big man Giovanni Imajuru, and you lost Dimitri Gardner, who was your mid-year transfer. So that's 11 scholarship players, I believe, out from last year's team. Scheduled to return as of now, Jay Shane Woodard, Dahi Quinn, both those guys coming off injury, and Eli Deloria at this point is still with the program. I think you have maybe a walk-on or two as well, but you've got those 3 scholarship guys and incoming freshman Draylon Creasy. Scholarship, most teams have a limit of 13, although I guess now with the new rules you can have more than that, but I would expect ECU to be around 13. And look, this is going to be a roster reset. This is what we expected, and to be honest, Philip, I applaud the coaching staff for doing this and not trying to hang on to, hey, we can fix this group of guys. This needs to be a roster reset, and I'm glad that they're doing this.
Yeah, another guy we lost, even though he wasn't a scholarship guy, I just think we got to notably say we lost him. That's Luke Davis because of the role that he played this year as well. So I feel like we haven't really said anything about him postseason, and he deserves it. So, yeah, look, the coaching staff had a missed year when it came to recruiting. We know that. They know that. It's easy to say. It's another thing to swallow your pride and to go out there and admit it. And by doing this, they're admitting it. Their actions are following what the Pirate fans are saying, what we in the media are saying, which, I mean, we're just fans anyways, not really a difference. But, and so I applaud them for it. This makes me, gain a lot of respect for these guys to go out there and do that, because at the end of the day, these guys, I mean, I hate to use the term dead weight, but that's kind of what they were to this roster, some of these guys. And sometimes you just got to go out there and do what's best for your program, and so credit to Coach Schwartz and his staff.
I would say the only real surprise on this list is Travion LeBeau, and I think this is multifaceted. As Johnny Stat says, I hate to see Trevi leave. I was looking forward to watching his game progress. He was outstanding on perimeter defense. Great young man. Enjoyed having him around the program, enjoyed covering him. I think his foot injury, is serious. You're talking about a guy who's 6'3", whose game is predicated on athleticism and defense. I'm not a medical expert. We went over this on Bucks on the Pond last night, so I'm not going to give full medical analysis, but I've just been told that his injury could affect his leaping ability. And if you have a guy who is already severely undersized for his role, if he's unable to jump as he once was, or at least initially, then as a senior, that impacts his ability to play defense and his ability to rebound, which are the strengths of his game and maybe ECU was willing to welcome him back. I don't know the exact particulars of the situation, but at a lower price. Like I know a lot of these, not a lot, but some of these guys, like a Corey Calker, hey, you can come back if you're willing to compete for your job and maybe take less funding than you got last year when we initially recruited you because your performance maybe didn't warrant the number we originally gave you. Like that is just, honestly smart negotiating by ECU. In my opinion, they won't have a problem replacing the production they got from Corey Calker, and they won't have a problem replacing the production they got from Travion LeBeau. They should have a problem replacing the production of any of these guys. And no offense, because I do think Calker could put up better numbers. I think Reed Kaysen actually has, some potential. Who knows about Patty D'Arcy, Vito, if they would have gotten more time, but they did struggle with the athleticism of the American. Most of these guys are replaceable, and that's why they're in the portal. This is not a situation where they left and ECU tried to retain them. This is a situation of ECU said, hey, maybe we'll welcome you back, but it's in a more limited role or a role you have to earn. And here we are with a complete roster reset. And now the question becomes, can ECU hit, unlike they were able to do enough of last year? And you're going to have to replace a Jordan Riley. But as much as he scored, Phillip, he was not the most efficient player in the world. And this does at least allow you to completely, in theory, construct your team how you would want to, kind of from scratch. So you're not having to, start with one or two main pieces and necessarily pigeonhole other guys around him, if that makes sense.
No, that's right. Because Jordan was your guy you built the roster around last year. It was RJ the year before, RJ the year before that. And not there's anything wrong with that. You want to have those guys, but it does, after the year was as bad as it was, it needs to almost kind of be reset. As for these guys, look, Trevi, I don't feel comfortable speaking on the situation because of some of the stuff that you mentioned, right? Like, how bad is this injury? This really might be he's never the same. So I think Coach Schwartz would have had him back if it wasn't for that. Calker, I think he's the one guy who maybe is kind of leaving on his own accord. But like you said, it was like, hey, we paid you X. This year we'll pay you Y. And Y is a lot less than X. We'll have you back. And he was like, yeah, I'm good. I think everybody else, it was like, hey, appreciate what you did for our program. Best of luck at your next stop. So, now look, you pretty much got, two guys, maybe three. But one of them just never even played in a Pirate uniform. And those guys are solid pieces around the superstars. So they're part of the building blocks that you just need as depth pieces. So like you said, you pretty much are starting from scratch. Hey, you've got a solid rotational wing. Hey, you've got a solid rotational big. Now go out there and find you some superstars, find you a ball handler, find you a true forward or center, and see what you can do with this. So I think it's a big offseason for the coaching staff. It starts today officially. And, the unfortunate thing is it's going to be 2-3 weeks probably before we actually start landing guys, and that's kind of the frustrating part. But, hey, big dogs got to eat first.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't get discouraged and don't expect a bunch of commitments up front because there's a pecking order. ECU, I think, will do as much legwork, has already done a lot of legwork with, D2 transfers who are already in the portal, but there's a pecking order. They'll have to wait. And I've still heard mixed things on Delorier. I do expect 100% Woodard to be back and Dahi to be back. We'll see on Delorier, but he's not in the portal as of now. And, seems like there's a path for him to return. Here's my question to you, Phillip, before we get a break in. Do any of these eight players transfer laterally? Definitely not up. I can't see any of these guys going up. Do any of these players transfer laterally, to another American team or a conference similar to the American? I almost think they all end up going to a lower level conference, like a low major or even D2.
If Trevi can get this thing worked out, it turns out he's going to be healthy. I could see him in a similar situation. Maybe somebody takes a chance on Reed Kaysen. Maybe a bad team out of the A-10 or a bad team out of... I feel like us in the A-10, I guess in the Mountain West. But honestly, I think the Mountain West is above us. Now, with the Mountain West and the Pac-12 becoming back, it's going to be interesting to see who's what there. Pac-12 will probably be the better league. Mountain West will probably be at the same level as the American and the A-10. Heck, the A-10's better than us, too. Let's be honest. But so maybe one of those situations with like Reed Kaysen, and that's it.
Reed Kaysen had his best career games against UAB. Maybe Andy Kennedy is like, we'll give this guy a shot because they had 0 size last year. Yeah, I mean, if you want to back up big Reed Kaysen, you could certainly do a lot worse. So I think he's one, and maybe Calker, just given the way he ended the season, gets a shot at a similar conference. But I think most of these guys are going to end up transferring down, just given their production at ECU, which was a 11-win team in 2025.
We're only counting 10 of these, Stephen. We're only counting 10 of those.
Fayetteville State?
Not when you beat Fayetteville State by 1. It doesn't affect your whoever the hell it was. It doesn't affect your net. Doesn't count.
Let me not disrespect Elizabeth City State. That was my bad. I know we probably at least have 1 or 2 listeners out there who know some people from Elizabeth City State. And Elizabeth City State, by the way, this past year I think had like a handful of wins. So I don't want to take away anything from them. But we got to get a break in. We'll come back. We will wrap up the show, our final thoughts on ECU and Duke going into tonight's game after this.
Get ready to bring on the savings at Greenville Toyota with major deals on brand new Toyotas like a Camry, $229 a month, or RAV4, $279 a month. Now's your turn to save at Greenville Toyota.
In Eastern North Carolina, hard work matters, and it always has. At Flatlands Insurance Group, we've been showing up for our neighbors since 1963, helping families and business owners navigate change, weather tough seasons, and keep moving forward. Decades later, our purpose hasn't changed: to help protect what you've poured your time and energy to, from your home to your health to whatever comes next. Flatlands Insurance Group, your whole world covered.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Your future is full of possibilities, and Pitt Community College can help you explore every option. You can earn a degree, learn a trade, transfer to a university, or launch a new career. We offer the support you need to succeed with flexible schedules, affordable tuition, and programs designed for the real world. Your path, your future, your college. Pitt Community College. Register now.
Bring on the savings with new Toyotas from $159 a month at Greenville Toyota. Get huge discounts like Corolla's $159 a month or Tacoma's $249 a month. Save today at Greenville Toyota, where our volume saves you money.
Visit Larry's Steakhouse for a tender, hand-cut certified Angus ribeye. Other entrees include perfectly seasoned pork chops, chicken or seafood favorites like shrimp, tuna, and salmon. Complement your meal with Larry's fresh 20-plus item salad bar, or enjoy it as an all-you-can-eat entree. Daily rotating favorites include meatloaf, chicken pastry, hamburger steak, spaghetti, pork chops, and more, all complemented with your favorite country sides. Whether it's for lunch, dinner, or our Sunday brunch, remember to support and eat local. Larry's Steakhouse.
Like all pirates, Stephen Igo is loyal and bold.
He may also have a touch of scurvy. Back to Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
All right, I do want to start our final segment by issuing an apology to Fayetteville State, which went 23-7 this past season. It was Elizabeth City State, though, that almost beat ECU. In fact, probably should have been sent to the line. ECU got away with the foul. They went 4-20. And 0-12 on the road, but they almost had a victory over ECU. And what was an exhibition game for them, but would have won a loss on ECU's record. That was a rough day. We should have known then, and we probably did know then, that it was a rough day, rough season ahead for ECU basketball. All right, many of those players that played in that game now in the portal. Philip Pilkington rejoins us. Minute left in the show. Philip, what do you hope to see tonight? ECU Duke, Clark LeClaire Stadium, as you will be listening from afar as you watch your Bruins lose.
Give me vintage Ryan Towers, man. Had a bad outing last time. It's one thing to have a bad outing. It's another thing to not be able to bounce back after a bad outing. So, he's had, 9-10 days to think about it. So I want to see that. I want to see some depth. Hopefully another good outing maybe from Frank Saccone as well.
Kenny Curlin's in the chat says 13-3 Pirates in 7 innings, or 14-8 if it goes 9 innings. So he's expecting a lot of runs. I do think ECU had a lot of chances to score off Drew Bryan in their last game. They did not capitalize. I expect them to be better tonight against Drew Bryan to start with. I did make my bold prediction on Bucks on the Pond that ECU would win this game in their final AB. So either in the bottom of the 8th or in walk-off style is my prediction. So I'm expecting a close game, and then they get their revenge on Duke with some dramatics of their own. And we'll see what the pitching situation looks like on both sides. I would expect Duke to save some arms and ECU as well.
I want to know how they could win at the bottom of the 8th on their final AB. I guess a walk-off to win it by 10? Because, your last guy's going to get out.
Go ahead in the 8. Like, final AB, they take the lead.
Gotcha.
And then Sean Jenkins closes it out. So that was the official wording, but thanks for double-checking. We got to get out of here. Shout out to Mike Mullis. Shout out to Philip Pilkington and everybody that left comments. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll be back 12 noon on Wednesday to break it all down. See you then.